Motegi gave each of the winningest drivers this season another checkmark on their tally. And while each holds a comfortable points lead, today's track is notorious for its unpredictability. The tiny little Summit Point Raceway will require the utmost in patience and discretion. Will either of our leaders fall victim to impulse? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 8 of the iRacing Kamel GT Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Summit Point is a much lesser known circuit, even here in the States, but it has a rich history with sports car racing. Let's head to our track guide to learn more. Welcome to Summit Point Raceway. Once the stomping grounds of IMSA and Trans Am vehicles thundering through the West Virginia mountains, this circuit is now mainly used for club racing and performance driver training. Situationed a couple hours west of Washington, D.C., there are actually two entirely separate circuits that can be tackled here on the iRacing service. The main circuit is just shy of 2 miles in length, including 10 turns, and can be chopped off into the short version, which has 9 turns and only 1.5 miles for a lap. The Jefferson Circuit is its own 1.1 mile piece of pavement with a mere 7 turns and uniquely can be run in reverse. Both tracks are astonishingly narrow and provide quite a technical challenge. On the main course, the most popular place to pass is down into the first corner hairpin. While some drivers may try a brave dive into turn 5, the frighteningly fast kinked entry makes it prone to things going wrong quickly. Between there and turn 9, it's essentially a single file affair with nothing but tight and twisty bends snaking their way around. The Jefferson Circuit isn't used as often, and because there are a few straights long enough to get a run on someone, most drivers are forced to wait for a mistake to pounce on. Otherwise, qualifying will be key. Believe it or not, IMSA's GT class raced here in the late 80s, and even Can-Am stopped in back in 86. While it probably sees much more competition here in the virtual world, it's easy to see why plenty of real drivers love to take their vehicles out to try and tackle this historic Appalachian venue. Well, this is going to be one of the tracks that the drivers are familiar with, Adam, but familiarity won't be the problem.
No, Joe. Summit Point Motorsports Park main circuit is one of the shortest tracks on iRacing, clocking in at just under 2 miles or 3.2 kilometers, and featuring only 10 turns. You might be fooled into thinking short means simple, but you would be very wrong. Surrounded by grass on all sides, this narrow, winding circuit is a challenge for both classes. The Nissans will struggle to find the right balance between speed and grip as they balance the car through the downforce-dependent wagon and paddock bends, but also try to have enough mechanical grip to be fast to the carousel and the S's. The Audis, well, as usual, they're just trying to make sure that they can turn into the corner without too much understeer. Multiclass here is darn near impossible, with everything between turn 1 and paddock bend being 2 lanes wide at most, and featuring one of the lowest speed complexes in iRacing from the chute to the S's. This circuit has produced some of the most colorful conflicts in Kamel history, and as always, being patient will be the most important thing around Summit Point, and setting the goal to simply finish the race may be your healthiest approach as a driver here, Joe.
One thing that's really healthy right now is the points lead for Alex Gall. It's almost a full win's worth ahead of Matthias Hovdal. And I can tell you that Gall is here today. Matthias is, well, looks like he might not be here. So he'll probably be falling even farther behind and have to take one of his drop weeks. Now, another distance back to Aitor Sintez Gando. Bit of a surprise to see him up this high because we don't usually see him finishing in the podiums, but consistency does count for something this season. Nick Mukanos and Laust Olsen in a very tight fight for fourth, only 3 points separating them. What about the GTOs, Adam?
Well, the GTOs is a very similar story, with Jukka Leskala having won 5 of the 7 races yet to be that were run here. One he placed second, and the other one he did not show up. If both of those are his weakest point scoring places, then with 2 drop weeks, that would put him at a perfect score for the season if he were to finish out the rest of this with wins. But here is the best place where he might lose that that potential streak. With Reed Miller being only 19 points behind, that's still within a win. And if Yuko Leskola has a bad day, you could see Reed Miller get up there really close to Yuko. Roman Pawlowski, 61 points back, is very close with Robin Happich and Hugh Haycox. Those three drivers being very consistent is putting them in the run for that final spot on the podium, Joe.
Our regular viewers can kind of skip over this one because there's not much new in the race details. Round 8 out of 12, and it's a 40-minute format. So just a sprint race out here today. It is open setup, and there's no fast repair. So if they get any sort of damage in the tight confines around here, they're going to have to stop into that pit lane and get it repaired or just deal with it, essentially. And there you could see the incident limit that they do need to worry about because they will get a drive-through penalty at only 17, unfortunately. As they start to come across the line, I see Nick Schneider actually up at the top of our provisional poll in the prototypes. Hugh Haycox just got beat out by Yuko Leskola. So Yuko continuing his incredible trend of speed here and by a full second over Hugh on that first lap.
Yeah, that's a lot, especially around here. This is not that long of a lap. A full second is absolutely massive. But the battle for second place is very tight between Hugh Haycox, Jamie Hamill-Smith, we haven't seen quite a bit coming back into the series, and Ian Haycox jumping up there in 4th position as well. Up at the top of the field, still Phil Lake in 2nd behind Nicholas Schneider. Sean Campbell's already finished his laps in 3rd position. Loust Olson up there in 4th. Nick Bakanos in 5th for those GTPs. Here comes Millward, though, around the final corner. Can he set a better time?
As he comes across, and Alex Millward, I'm trying to find him on my time and scoring. There he is in 6th. His second lap through, only good enough for P6. That's surprisingly low.
Absolutely. Here's Hugh Haycox, who does improve just about by 2/10. Still in that 2nd position, though, and still 0.9 away from Yuko Leskola, who's about to cross the line and improve his own time. So back up to over a second for the pole of GTOs right now.
Alex Gall, I think, is coming across for his first flyer as he's out of Paddock Bend. There he is coming to the line. Let's see what he's got. It's a 57.9. That is easily on pole ahead of Schneider.
That's an impressive lap, absolutely. That being said, Schneider still only about 6/100ths behind, so Schneider not too far off of Gall's pace. But that being said, for the first flyer with the GTPs tending to improve on their second lap, that's impressive pace for Gall.
He's on his way second time around. So is Alex Millward, but his second lap, a 58.4, is good enough for 7th. Alex will have some work to do if he wants to get another victory. It's been a couple of bad races in recent times, 2 DNFs, unfortunately for him in the last 2 rounds. Here's Ove Trangrade on his second flyer, a 108.4, 2/10ths faster. That's good enough for 3rd, but still nobody able to get within a second of Leskola with only 68-second laps. This is incredible.
Reed Miller up to 3rd. There's Alex Gall crossing line again. Does improve just a little bit and takes the pole once again. Nicholas Schneider now about 1/10th away, so unfortunately for him, not going to get that pole position. Hideki Koivisto coming across the line, trying to improve. Does improve by about 5/100ths of a second, and actually that's going to be good enough to put him up to 8th position. Here comes Radar Anderson, who's not set a lap yet and who we haven't seen in a couple of rounds. Let's see how he does today.
Robin Happich also improved to 109.4. Anderson on his first lap, good enough for 11th with a 59.2. As now we glance at Mudrack here in his traditional bright yellow number 13. And also Martin Krajcik. Now, as Martin took his 2 times, no, this is his second lap. Got enough time. They can wait a little bit. He's way off the apex there, Adam.
Yeah, just a little bit wide, didn't turn in quite early enough and didn't have the downforce in order to stick up to the track. That's actually going to improve him still, though, 2/10ths and move him up to 9th.
Let's see, who else do we have finishing up? Ove Trangrade's already taken his 2. Koivisto's taken his 2. Looks like Anderson will be the next one to try and set a time. And he's sitting in 12th with a 59.2. The full field right now that have set a timer are split between 7 seconds, but the majority of them within 4 seconds of each other. Second lap, not going to be any quicker for the 17, unfortunately.
Yeah, so very tight field up there in the GTPs. Not so tight in the GTOs with that full second from Yuko Leskola. But that being said, with traffic, Yuko's just going to have to survive this race, and he should be fine. We'll see what happens here. This is Diego Ascensos. We haven't seen him in the series so far, and he unfortunately did not set any clean laps in his qualifying, so he's going to be starting at the back today.
Yeah, I think that is everybody, actually, because they all have 2 laps down, so... at this point, nobody's able to get a single one if they haven't come out on track yet. So we'll let that clock tick down and the drivers continue to warm up. But I'm very curious how this is going to play out with traffic. Most of the drivers have done this before, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be clean.
No, I don't think it's going to be clean. This is one of the tracks where it's nearly impossible to be clean around here, especially if the GTPs get caught up behind the GTOs going through the chute to the S's, that twisty section. Things are going to get really complicated here, but this is a good example of the pace difference that has increased between the GTPs and the GTOs. Last season, it was about 5 seconds difference. This season, up to 10 seconds. Yuko Leskola, 107.287. Alex Gall, 57.947.
All right, so as the last few seconds finish up, we have our grid set, and it is 36 drivers out here today. It usually would not be a whole lot, but in the tight confines of Summit Point, it's going to be very cramped for the drivers, and they're going to be overtaking those GTOs quite a bit. Here we go. Our starting order for today includes Alex Gall up on the pole by about 1/10 of a second over Nick Schneider, who has shown incredible speed lately. Phil Lake, though, is going to try and stop him. He'll start from 3rd with Sean Campbell in P4. You've got Laust Olsen in the 5th position and Nick Mukano starting in 6th. Then Alex Millward, unusually slow, in 7th for this qualifying. Fabian Jungluth will be next to him in 8th, and Martin Krejcik starts 9th, top 10. Going to be rounded out by Aitor Sintez Guindo. Joseph Mudrack, good enough for 11th in his 2 attempts. Anderson will start 12th, and then John Keefe will be 13th. Javier Mosquera will be P14. You've got Paul Ferrer starting 15th today. Kowalski will be in 16th, and then it's Kyle Graham on the inside of the next row in 17th, Furkan 18th, and Chadrick Williams in 19th. 2 that did not qualify will start at the back of their field are Carlos Fonseca and Roy Pruitt.
Yuko Leskola is going to take pole once again by 1 second over Hugh Haycox in 2nd place. Second row is going to be Reed Miller in 3rd, with Ove Trangarade in 4th. Ian Haycox in 5th today, with Jamie Hamel-Smith starting off in 6th, with Mika Tupelo alongside him in 7th. Hideki Koivisto, Albrecht Liebenau, and Robin Happich round out your top 10. And we have Oren Laskin in 11th, Paul Duke in 12th, Diego Ascensos did not set a time in 13th, and Pablo Rangel and Christian Arribas did not set times and did not actually participate in qualifying in 14th and 15th in class, and rounding out your 36-car field.
As they get ready to take off on the pace lap, looks like we got pretty much everybody in the field out there now, so we'll probably get rolling in any second. I have to wonder, how important do you think getting the tires ready and prepared for that first corner, and the brakes too, is going to be for these drivers? Because in fact, I think the heaviest braking zone on the track is down into that turn 1.
Yes, it definitely is the heaviest braking zone. It's also the place where we're going to see probably our first wreck of the day going into lap 1, Joe. A lot of people, I mean, there's a ton of draft that you get going down this front straightaway on the start of this race. You're especially seeing the Audis as they try and wrestle with the brakes for the first time. But the GTPs are dealing with cold brakes as well, and with the new patch coming out that has adjusted how these GTPs brake, and with the amount of draft they're going to be getting because of how high their downforce is this race, we're probably going to see some people try and make it 3 wide, and that just doesn't work around here.
Speaking of the changes to the Audis, I was talking to Mick Claridge not long ago, and he says that he believes they may have done some tweaks to the gearbox, that it shifts a little bit faster, which will certainly be much more lovely for those Audi drivers. The gearbox in that car is kind of notorious for being, shall we say, finicky.
Yeah, my guess is that has to do with the auto blip or auto shifting that you can use with the flappy paddles. For those with H patterns, the reason why the H pattern was faster is because the auto shifting would take about half a second to 0.7 of a second in order to get from one gear to the next. And with how finicky the Audi gearbox is and how long you have to leave the clutch in at 100%, that can really be an issue. You could do some you could do some tweaks to the curves of your pedals in order to try and mitigate that. but it's something that's really hard to deal with. So if they had made that adjustment to make the shifting a little bit faster, then that means that those who do run with the flappy paddles and the Audi, which I can't imagine how you'd pull that off personally, but it should make it a little bit easier for them. But the H pattern, it's all about just keeping your foot flat to the floor, dropping that clutch, and slipping it into gear. But you still miss shifts every once in a while. We've seen it from Yuka Leskola, we've seen it from Reed Miller, we've seen it from Ian Haycox and Ove Trangrade. All the best still have trouble with the gearbox even today.
I would love to know what it's like over in H-pattern world. I've never owned an H-pattern on my sim rig, unfortunately.
I bought it for this.
I wish. I need to get one eventually. But we're about to get started, and Alex Gall is looking to take his 6th win, if he can, from this pole position. He has only failed to win twice this season of his starts. So, as he gets ready to go, he's waiting a long time, and now he accelerates away. Backed him up big time here as the green flag flies, and that puts a big jump over Nick Schneider. Already Phil Lake has his shot at maybe trying to challenge him down into the first corner as they plunge into the shade of the cloud. Way around the outside, look like Schneider might be able to hold him back, and he does. We're all clean through the GTPs. Let's go to the GTOs.
GTOs, Yuka Leskola got a great jump over Hugh Haycox, and everyone's seemingly running fairly clean right now. It's side by side between Mika Tupola and Hideki Koivisto at the back of the field for 8th and 9th. Robin Happett just making the pass on him. A fairly clean start for the GTOs as well, Joe.
Already the prototypes are in a yard sale corner, a place known for getting some drama, but so far so good. They're through there clean. They're actually kind of catching up to Roy Pruitt, it looks like, in this GTO field. Hopefully he's able to pick up the pace as things go on, but we're watching Snyder up at the front chasing our leader, Alex Gall, but he's already lost about 0.8 of a second to him.
Absolutely. It's really hard to hang out behind the cars ahead of you right now. Paul Duke looks like he's taken a tow in his GTO. Off track, hit the tire barriers. No need to go to it, but just a single car incident. But yeah, some of the slower GTPs, especially once they get damaged, could be lapped by the GTOs. And the GTOs actually have a straight line speed advantage on the GTPs if they're not careful. Some decent passes for the GTPs in the back of the field going into turn 1, but the GTOs are all that draft train, and Reed Miller's getting challenged right now.
To his outside, Ove Trangrade isn't able to get the
Alex Gall's gone around, and he's towed.
Holy cow. Early in the race. Let's take a look and see what caused this.
Oh, he had a connection issue, Joe.
I wonder if that was actually some sort of software problem, if maybe the computer froze on him.
Yeah, something like that, Joe. It's really bad, but Nicholas Schneider up to the lead of this race now.
And Phil Lake was close behind on the early lap, but Nick Schneider has managed to gap him to about half a second. I think it was a bad exit out of the final turn for Martin Krejcik, because he's not only lost a spot to Mudrack, but he's in a big battle with John Keefe. And Keefe took a look, but was not able to get the inside into the first corner. There you see the trio coming out of there as we now hop on board with the Hoosier, and he continues to chase the 15.
John Keefe in a great position to try and effect a pass, but he's going to have to try and make a late dive down here through the chute. It's so hard to do, but there's really only one place to pass around here for these guys, and that tends to be through turn 1, or if you can try and catch someone slow coming out of the S's. But you can try and make a late dive of the chute, but it usually ends in tears. But we'll see what happens here. Keith's starting to back off of these guys a little bit. Martin Krejcik under a better position to try and challenge Joseph Mudrack, but that draft from the high downforce that they've got going on here is really powering these guys down the straights.
Ooh, it's powering Sean Campbell down the straight. He got a great run off of Paddock Bend. I think he might have something on Lake. He's going to look on it, but he's not going to be able to act on it. So he'll stay back in that 3rd position, but already trying to challenge the number 4.
Absolutely, yeah. Phil Lake's just got to be consistent around this track. He doesn't really have anything for Schneider right now, so all he could do is just try and hold off Campbell. It shouldn't be that challenging to do. All he has to do is just make sure to get a good exit through Paddock Bend and be able to maximize the corner exit there to make sure that Campbell can't catch up to him into turn 1.
Now here's what's really wild. We're on lap 4, and already the GTPs are catching the tail of the GTO field. Ove Trangrade is just a couple seconds up the road. So Nick Schneider is going to be overtaking him relatively soon. You can see him down the front stretch, and the question is that going to help him gap those behind, or will it hinder him?
Yeah, Ove had a horrible lap last lap. He actually went off track and ended up backing up to that 14th position, so that's why we see him back there. Remember, he was the one trying to pass Reed Miller on the outside. Michael Kowalski looks like he's gone around to the GTPs as they come out of Paddock Bend.
Didn't hit anything, just spun off the course. We're going to watch and see how Nick deals with the traffic. He actually catches Trangerade at a very good time, but Phil Lake is not. He's going to have to work his way around the outside, and so is Sean Campbell. And poor Ove is basically just having to stay off to the far edge of the road to avoid all the prototypes that are flying through.
Absolutely. I think Ove's going to be a little frustrated here, and so are the cars behind him. Last Olsen now getting held up by Ove Trangrade. Alex Millward's on his back. Roy Pruitt's had an off in the background of the GTPs as well. He got caught out by Kowalski, who had an unsafe re-entry here. But here we go. Millward, and wow, look at that. So tight as they go by. Jeez, it's just really hard to pass around here in Paddock Bend.
Had a little bit of contact between Pruitt and Kowalski. No need to go to that. I'm a little bit surprised that Millward is still stuck down in 6, and that is Pruitt still at the side of the track. Oh, here we go. He's got a good run off of the corner, coming up to the outside of Wagon Wheel, and he's better on the brakes, so he's able to finally get to 5th. That's the first actual overtake he's done. The only reason he gained 1 spot was because of the DNF from Gall.
Absolutely a great job for Millward to make that pass, and a challenging place to make it as well. I thought he might have clipped the grass and taken it too deep in there, but he was able to hang on to it and hang on to that grip as well. But now we've got a ton of the GTPs intermixed into the GTOs. Here's where we're going to see some tears happen, Joe.
Whoa,
in the lead of the race.
Miku Tupola is spun across the track, and unfortunately Mudrack is going to plow into him. But you're right here, as we have a fight for the lead. Phil Lake gets the run on Nick Schneider. Coming down to the first corner, more traffic. This is Koivisto and Hapich. Another one of our prototypes off to the side of the track. Kowalski once again there. And thankfully does not cause any issues with our 2 leaders sneaking to the inside of Koivisto. Lake makes a dive.
Yeah, that's a dive. Hideki Koivisto's not going to be very happy about that one. Phil Lake, having been a GTO driver, look at that. That's Jamie Hamill-Smith trying to cover off our leader into the corner, able to save that from happening. Contact behind between Nick McConos and I believe Reed Miller as they make contact at the back of the field. And now it's just a complete mess as they go through the carousel.
And Sean Campbell had some contact, I think, with him as well. This is coming into yard sale. Bonk, there's the contact.
Absolutely. Sean Campbell just getting into the inside of, unfortunately, everyone able to keep going. So hopefully not that much damage for Campbell, but he is a good 2.5 seconds behind Phil Lake, but gaining quickly. Look at this draft as we go down the straight.
Holy cow. This is going to be exciting once they get to the braking zone. And Millward, oh no,
what?
did he overshoot it? Yep, he did, and he's going to get turned as Hamill-Smith almost blindsided by the number 6.
I mean, he might have been able to make that on a clear track, but he went so deep here. He clipped the grass into braking? No, he just went for it. Well, unfortunately for him, that ambitious move ended in tears. Fortunately, it didn't ruin anyone else's race, but we need to go back up to 8th place between Last Olsen and Aitor Setesguindo. This is very close as they go through the carousel behind Jamie Hamill-Smith.
Oh, there's just not much room on this track. Look at him try and find space. Hamill-Smith just trying to continue to run his own race. And he's going to give him a little bit of room down to the apex, so Setesguindo gets by. Now Olsen. They're bringing along Krejcik as well. And finally sneaking through, that's Fabian Jungbluth, but he has a compromised entry into Paddock Bend. Laust Olsen still with a great run on Setesguindo. He's going to take a little bit of a peek, and now they get checked up once again with Ian Haycox, our 4th place GTO driver, in front of them.
Absolutely. It was side by side between Sean Campbell and Nick McComas for 3rd place. Sean was able to hold on to that, but look at this as they navigate through there. It's so challenging when you get through these twistier sections, especially the high downforce Porsches. The GTPs can carry so much more speed than the GTOs, and it's really difficult for them to navigate through there as the GTOs push wide, Joe.
This is the sort of franticness we expected here for this event. And they spread apart, at least temporarily.
Oh no, Michael Kowalski has pushed Reed Miller off track.
Oh, and I think he disappeared.
No.
He went off into the trees. That's one of the other odd things about this track is there's a lot of spots where there's no barriers and you can basically slip into the ether.
That's right here. He just pushes him and there goes Reed off track.
Oh boy.
Oh, we've had a wreck. Jamie Hamill-Smith is around in a huge wreck at the beginning. There's Michael Kowalski going around again.
Oh, he's been having a horrible day. That nearly got into Olsen and Sintes Guindo, who are just going to be able to get away with this. They were battling as well. That's the red, white, and blue and the yellow car that are fighting for position. Oh, he touched the grass.
Still off track in turn 1, so he's about to return. Here's Hugh Haycox, though, once again in traffic in the midst of all these guys. I think that's Millward who's tucked in behind him trying to make his recovery drive. These are the two Haycoxes chasing down Yuka Lesko. Oh, that was close.
Talk about timing it just right. And Hugh let him by Keefe and Millward. As this is going to be the third race in the row that has been a horrible day for Millward. So Yuka Leskola now experiencing a lot of our prototypes coming through. And I think this is Krajcik and Jungbluth fighting for position. Jungbluth in the blue and white, but he's a little bit slow. Coming up to Wagon Wheel, defends the inside. Radar Anderson giving watch from the popcorn position. He could get a chance to fly through if they tangle, but looks like they're going to decide discretion is the better part of valor and stay put.
Yeah, this is absolutely, oh, look at that. Our 007 cam is not quite perfectly 00 right now. It's more like double donut. But here we go as they go through once again. The S is coming back out the other side. Jungbluth with a decent run off the end. Laust Olsen starting to run away from these guys. Radar Anderson can't quite get close enough for the draft either.
Double Donut was James' name before he lost some weight. As they come off of Paddock Hill Bend, Krajcik looking strong. Jungbluth going to be under threat and definitely is not quick in a straight line. Krajcik passed. That gets him 7th place. Did Ian Haycox have an issue? Yeah, he had contact with Kyle Graham. And Ian is our 3rd place runner, so this is significant. I think he managed to avoid losing time. And
I think he managed to avoid losing a lot of damage, but I understand why Ian's frustrated. You're going to see it here. Kyle Graham not super quick in that GTP, just going offline. And it's when they go through the S's that you'll see the contact happen. And this is really not a great place to try and make a pass.
I think Jamie Hamill-Smith must have been experiencing some damage because he's taken a tow and has since come into the pits. He didn't hit anything. No one hit him. He just kind of slithered off the track and then called it a day. As we now look at Haycox in present time. Up next to overtake him, well, he doesn't have any prototypes coming up behind him for quite some time, so he's mercifully got a break.
Oh, look at this. There's Jungbluth getting past once again. I think this is by Radar Anderson. Yeah, he's going right by. So Radar doing a good job of getting by. Here's Millward on his recovery drive as well. He's going to have to wait probably another lap before he's able to make his pass.
So we're biding his time. And up through Wagon Wheel. Go ahead.
And Joe, we should jump up to the lead of the race because Nicholas Schneider and Phil Lake are caught up behind Oren Laskin and Robin Happich as they're actually going to split them and go between. Look at 3 wide from Phil Lake. He's got the run on Nicholas Schneider and wanted to make sure that he could keep it. Oh my goodness, that was close.
And the crazy thing about that is Happich actually announced he was coming into pit lane, but they maybe didn't quite notice or expect him to do that. So that's why it went 3 wide. He had to get off to the right side of the track, down to the first corner. Phil Lake within 0.3 of a second. Nick Schneider, does he stay defensive? No, he comes back to the racing line, into Wagon Wheel. Another bad run through traffic is going to be a disaster for Nick because it could open the door for the 4.
And here's the point where that's going to happen. This is Hideki Koivisto and Albrecht Liebenau. And oh my goodness, Hideki Koivisto doing a good job taking that apex. He needed to take it. And the GTO's doing a good job not running into the back of the GTP through this slower section. Here's Nicholas Schneider going around the outside of Hideki Quimby, so it's going to be tight. He's able to make that work. Phil Lake is going to go around the outside as well, but he's not going to make it. He's able to hang on.
Holy cow! How did Phil Lake keep that car together as Sean Campbell is going to gain on him? Well, before we go to the replay, I think Sean Campbell has got a good run. Looks like we're going to take a quick glance at it, and we do need to go to our leaders because there's a pass for the lead happening right now. He's going to get to the outside of Schneider, and Phil Lake almost gets through, but he puts some wheel spin on it coming off the corner, so it doesn't work.
Sean Campbell's just a little bit too far behind. Phil Lake looking to the inside of Wagon Bend, able to hold on to it, but here comes Sean Campbell with an opportunity as they go to the chute. He's going to look to the inside of the chute. Nothing doing there. Going to try and do it in the braking into the carousel. No, he's going to hold off as well, but these guys are going to get held up behind Ian Haycox as they exit the S's, Joe.
That was strange. I don't know why Schneider was slow on the front stretch. I just looked over and
he got held up, Joe. He got held up by Liebenau.
Ooh, and he had to really squeeze by Haycox yet again. Just barely found room. Phil Lake compromised, and Sean Campbell is going to get tucked underneath that rear wing. We ride on board him now, looking for the slipstream to give him a shot into turn one. I don't think he's close enough, though.
Not quite close enough. This is going to make him held up behind, I believe this is Reed Miller in 10th, Christian Arribas in 9th, and then they have Hugh Haycox and Yuko Leskala up ahead. Reed Miller not having a good race either. He's had some contact with GTPs that sent him off as we've been paying attention to the GTP battles because they've been the most intense for sure. Look at that Phil Lake cutting to the inside there of Christian Arribas. And we have had some serious attrition, Joe. Oh my goodness, ooh. Phil Lake going around the outside of Hugh Haycox, our second place GTO. That's about as close as you can get there.
Hugh left him barely a car's width, but he did make it through. It is not over in this fight for the lead, even though they've got some distance between themselves. It's a second between Schneider and Lake, and 6/10 between Lake and Campbell. But we're looking at 8th position. Millward has gained a couple spots while we weren't looking. Next up, going to be Radar Anderson. And if you can get by him, oh, there's a whole bunch of them actually being checked up. Krajcik and Olsen can't find a way by Rangel. Now they're able to finally sneak through, and you can see, oh no! Contact between 3-4 cars. And a little brush with death once again as Alex Millward just finds his way past 7th.
And Nicholas Schneider's gone off. Our leader is off. He's got huge contact.
Right as that happened, we had a big hit with Millward too. This is the incident with Nick Schneider.
Oh, this is bad.
Is this traffic?
No, this is, oh my goodness.
Oh. Not sure who that was, but as we take a look at Millward's incident, we might have to back up just a little bit here, as it was a bit of a miscommunication. Car tried to get to the inside of him. He was already slow off of the final corner. Yeah, he was basically involved in all of the craziness that erupted in front of him with the drivers, Olsen, and I can't remember who else it was, making contact.
Oh.
Yeah, and see, he's going to have a little side swipe. Then he has to check up. And that puts John Keefe close on him. Oh, and we're not going to see the incident where he gets spun into the wall. As we come back live. Okay, what this does is Phil Lake leads. Sean Campbell now in second, still very close behind. With 9 seconds back to Nick Mukanos. Heitor Sendizgindo is promoted to 4th and Laust Olsen to 5th.
We've lost 14 cars in this race, Joe. We've lost 14 out of our 36 runners. That puts us down to 22 drivers left on track. That's the amount of attrition that we've seen. And these drivers have been taking risks I have not seen in the Kamel series in some time. And look at that, Phil Lake with a great run through Paddock Bend, and Sean Campbell trying to catch up. They were actually held up by Joshua Chadwick Williams, who's about 5 seconds off pace right now last lap, and that put them side by side through turn 1. Unfortunately, they're able to hang on to it, and Phil Lake is still able to get ahead.
So he's now got 6/10 over Sean. Can Sean maybe get himself a win? Started from 4th. Lake started from 3rd. So this is our second row promoted up. Haven't had the same sort of craziness for the lead in the GTOs. Leskala with My goodness, about a 13-second gap over Hugh Haycox. He's been managing this well.
Yeah, and with that gap that he's got, all he has to do is basically just survive this race. So he's just trying to manage the traffic and make sure he doesn't get punted off track. And he has been about 2 or 3 times, Joe. But fortunately, he's been able to recover and get back on track. But these GTPs are cutting through this field like it is butter. And that's a misshift from Yuko a little bit, but it's not going to make that much of a difference to him.
Watching Phil Lake able to get inside of Oren Laskin. Sean Campbell, unfortunately, going to have to wait patiently through the opening hairpin before he can get past. A lot of blinking, too, for that 31 car, which makes it all the more treacherous. Let's see, when is the next traffic? They've got Furcon, but he's in the same class. Then they've got Koivisto up in front of them. They might actually catch Koivisto here in the carousel section.
Yeah, so here they go, going through the carousel section. They're going to get held up by... Furcon's actually probably the biggest issue for Phil Lake, because Furcon's going to want to get by Hideki Koivisto as well. So this is going to hold up Phil. He can't go 3 wide. More contact nose to tail between Furcon and Phil Lake. And so this is going to be challenging as they go through Paddock Bend. The downforce is going to help out Phil, and he's going to have to draft. Sean Campbell, not a good run off the corner. He's not going to be able to get by.
Finally pulls over to the side as our 2 leaders are able to get some clear track for racing. They've got another lapped car in the same class, Kyle Graham, a few seconds up the road. Halfway through the event, Phil Lake has, I think, had a couple contacts already. Not sure if this has damaged his aero. Certainly it doesn't seem to be lessening his pace as Campbell flirts with the gravel trap on the outside of Wagon Wheel.
And that's Christian Ribas around 9th place for the GTOs right there through Wagon Wheel. He decides to take a tow himself. No need to go to that one. But Phil Lake is trying to push as hard as he can. This is his best opportunity for a win he's had all season, with the misfortune from our leader, from our 2 leaders, actually. And here comes another moment. That's Kyle Graham and Pablo Rangel. Sean Campbell has to go off track to go around him, able to hang on to the car, trying to stay on the back of Phil Lake. Doesn't want to get him out of draft range.
What's wild is this is going to be a first new winner this season, no matter what, because our winners so far have been Gall, Millward, and Andra. And Gall has already DNF'd. Is Millward still running, actually, even?
No, Millward's in the pits with that major front end damage as well.
And Andre is in here. So, regardless, it looks like somebody is going to get their first time to the top step of the podium in this season. Let's take a look at the battle for 7th as well. Ooh, and Kraytrick looks fast compared to Martin, or compared to Fabian, rather.
Joe, both of these cars look like absolute disasters. You got left rear wing damage for Kraytrick. You've got left side pod damage for Jungbluth. These are 2 really damaged cars trying to duke it out for the 7th position, and they only have 13 cars left in class. The GTOs, who started with 15 drivers, have only 8 cars left in class. It has been high attrition this race.
Oh, we got to go to the leaders. Phil Lake did not have a good exit off of Paddock Bend. Down to the inside, Sean Campbell has the desired line, but can he get the power down in time to try and out-accelerate him? No. Even the long way around, Phil Lake will deny the number 5.
Phil just trying to hang on to this lead at this point. I think Sean Campbell's got a little bit of pace advantage on him. Reed Miller's going to pull over and let these guys go by. Does not want any part of that. He's already been sent off into the ether twice today, so he's definitely not interested in getting in the way of this battle. Here's Ian Haycox, 3rd position in the GTOs, up ahead of these guys.
Well, it's not been for lack of trying that Campbell is not our leader. He's been able to pretty easily catch up to Phil Lake each time, and has certainly been attacking. Nothing has produced the spot quite yet. Down through Paddock Bend, and once again, Phil Lake just slightly off the apex. Sean Campbell, so tidy through many of these corners. He's going to take the inside once again. It didn't work last time. Did he learn anything that'll help him through? Strong on the brakes for Phil Lake. That car is mighty today.
And Sean Campbell just can't get the power down on the inside. The radius of the turn is just too tight for that GTP. He just doesn't quite have the rear differential set up right to take that corner. So unfortunately, at that angle, that is, unfortunately can't get the power down. But if he keeps this up and Phil Lake gets held up at the wrong place, this could be an opportunity for him. Let's see what happens with Hugh Haycock, second place in the GTOs, up ahead. It's going to be a similar situation to last lap.
With apologies to fans of the GTO class, I know we haven't covered their battles a lot, but we honestly haven't had too many. It's all separated right now by at least 8 seconds or more between the field out there. So this is where we want to keep our eyes, between Sean Campbell and Phil Lake. They still have 15 minutes to sort this out, which in Camel terms is a long time. Down into the first corner. This time he only shows his nose, but doesn't actually go side by side.
Absolutely. So we are down to 21 cars running in this field, so it becomes more of a manageable Summit Point field for these drivers. But Sean Campbell, he's definitely got the pace on Phil throughout the lap, but he just can't get it done. He can't get the exit through Paddock Bend that he's looking for, and Phil Lake is just absolutely rigging this car out. It's going to take a mistake from Phil for Sean to get by. I think if Sean keeps the pressure up, Phil will make that mistake.
They've got Joseph Chadwick Williams, one of our newcomers here to the Nissans, up ahead of them to be lapped. And before they reach him, it'll be our leader in the GTOs. Lesko with a gap of about 10 seconds over Haycock's, probably, yeah, and on top of it, he doesn't even have to get out of the way, just lets them breeze past.
This could be bad for Campbell because, okay, so there we go. Liuko actually lifted there, because if he were to put his foot down, he could actually keep pace with Campbell at the end of the straight. That's how powerful the GTO is in a straight line. Unfortunately for Campbell, Yuko decided to let him go.
Already catching up to Chadwick Williams.
Oh, Hugh Haycox has gone around in the first corner.
Is he going to lose his spot to his dad? No, Ian is still approaching, so let's see what happened to Hugh. Have we got the air taken off of him?
I think he just went in a little bit too deep. I think he was tucked in behind, I believe that was Radar Anderson, and he just unsighted missed his braking point, I think.
Yeah, for those who haven't been familiar with Hugh and Ian, I mentioned that is a father-son duo, and you might be thinking, well, why is one in the UK and one in France? Well, Hugh is a student over in France and races from over there, as we once again take a look at them putting a lap on Oren Laskin. Less blinking this time, thankfully, but Phil Lake has not been under attack the same way these last 2 laps like he was prior. Is this Sean Campbell backing off, or is Lake turning up the wick?
It would be cool if Hugh and Ian are able to finish in these positions. I think this would be one of the few father-son duos we've had on a podium on GSRC. So it's just an awesome moment between those two. But Phil Lake doing a great job holding off Sean Campbell right now and really starting to show his pace at the moment as he's trying to streak away from Sean. Extended it out to about a second. So Sean Campbell might be trying to save his stuff for the last... Wow, I mean, they do laps in about a minute around here, so they've got another 14 laps to go.
Yeah, so there's going to be opportunities, no doubt about that, but Lake in clear air does look like he might be a little quicker now. Yeah, if any of our stats nerds out there know whether or not Hugh and Ian, a little bit of a bobble coming through the first corner for Phil Lake. Looks like he survived that, only lost a couple tenths to Sean Campbell. But if anybody knows whether or not Hugh and Ian finished on the podium together in the Weekend Warriors, definitely let us know in the chat. It'd be awesome if this is the first time we're getting to witness it between the two of them. And man, in just a couple corners, it was helped by the traffic, but it's already back up to 1.6 seconds.
Absolutely, man. Navigating this traffic is going to be the name of the game for these guys. I can report that Iko Leskala is out to 18.3 seconds over Hugh Haycox, just managing his gaps pretty well, managing the traffic pretty well. You know, we've seen a lot of errors around this track, Joe, and I think that just goes to show you that even though this may be a short track with only 10 corners, it's a challenging beast to get around.
Well, I don't think Leskala is 18 seconds out to the front. I think he's out to lunch right now. Just nobody is looking like they're going to catch him unless he has something completely out of his control ruin his race. And that's pretty much what it's been like for much of the season for this gold and black car. At this stage, he's almost got the championship wrapped up, and he only has 4 rounds to go after this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be, especially with Reed Miller having the day he's having, he's only going to finish in 7th. So, like, that's not horrible. But, I mean, it was looking pretty bad early on for Reed, but this is going to be a really big points day for Yuko over Reed Miller, and I don't see how Reed could catch up to him at this point, considering the fact that Yuko just has had such good results. But we should go to P7 because Krejcik just got held up by Pablo Rangel, and Fabian Jungbluth is looking for an opportunity to get by through the chute.
Krejcik's been in the wars, and so has Jungbluth down into yard sale. He gains under braking, but can't find his way past the number 15. We're looking from the gearbox of Krejcik through the S's and onto the backstretch now. Looks pretty good through there. So Krejcik keeps himself out of reach. They're going to have a rebus here, though, at a bit of a strange spot for him. Ooh, that compromised his exit big time, and Christian actually goes off track to avoid them.
Yeah, and it's so hard. That's part of the thing about multi-class around here is that paddock bend is the absolute nightmare scenario for multi-class racing. It's a high downforce corner, and you have one car that's extremely high downforce and one car that has basically none, and having to try and navigate through there. The amount of times I've gotten pushed off wide as an Audi because a GTP decided to take the inside of that corner is I can't count on two hands the amount of times that it's happened. It's just a really challenging corner for sure.
Phil Lake now has it up to 1.8 seconds over Sean Campbell. So despite some nervous
Sean had
moments,
a problem. It went from 1.8 to 2.5. Sean, I think, had an issue through Wagon Bend.
I think
this was traffic.
Yeah, he's going to try and go by Ian Haycox. And you talked about this just moments ago, how a high downforce car approaching a low one in one of these quick corners often is very costly. So, as we get ready to come back live here, one thing I was looking through now that we finally get a chance to breathe is our hardest charger, because I figured we'd have to have some with how many DNFs we've had. And Carlos Fonseca has gone from 20th to 11th. Now, he has not qualified, mind you. So, depending on your rules for this sort of thing, it could be an illegitimate hard charger for him. Other drivers who have done well include John Keefe, who's gone from 13th to 6th position. And the number 19 did qualify. So really good job from that silver and red machine.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been doing a great job for John, just being consistent, making sure that he doesn't get into any trouble. So fortunately, yeah, just doing a good job hanging on to that car right now. 8 minutes to go, so about 8 lap guys, and John Keefe down in that 6th position, about 10 seconds behind Laust Olsen. But let's take a look at Campbell, who's able to close a little bit on Phil Lake in clean air.
Yeah, remember that traffic can go either way, and while it can hurt Campbell, it can also hurt Phil Lake. And I think that happened actually into the first corner last lap. So a full lap ago is when Phil Lake lost most of that time. Let's see who they've got up next. This is Alex Millward. Now, Alex knows the deal. Yeah, here we go. He's going to pull off to the side.
Oh, but he's going to hold up Campbell. This will be interesting.
Well, he sped it up. If he can get a chance.
He's extremely damaged right now. So now this could be a little bit. I know that the Dirty Torque guys don't do team play, but Sharon Campbell's definitely getting held up behind Millward as they go through that twisty section. Going to be able to get by, but that gap's now up to 2 seconds when it was at 1.
Yeah, you're right. He lost out. Absolutely. And I agree. I think that was more just the convenience of the situation rather than anything intentional from Alex Millward. I didn't see anything untoward in that move. And up ahead, already putting another car between the pair of them. Yuko Leskala gets lapped yet again. And such is the pace difference between these two cars. 4 laps difference between our leader in the GTOs and our leader in the GTPs.
That math more or less works out. Over a 40-minute race for 35 minutes at 5 seconds a lap, it's close.
I don't do math on her. At least I shouldn't. So
10 seconds a lap. No, yeah, that totally works out.
Well, there we go. As they come through the carousel once again. And they've got a few cars behind, but none of them for position. That's Paul Farrer and Alex Millward, who are not fighting for a spot. They're both on different laps, basically just trying to gather whatever points they can.
All right, I'm going to take a risk here, but I do want to talk about Nick McConos, who's been having a good day in that third position. Nick's 16 seconds behind Sean Campbell, but that being said, he's 4 seconds ahead of Aitor Sintis-Guindo, who's starting to fall at the back of them as well. And Nick's just been doing a good job keeping his nose clean this race. Something he's struggled with in the past, just has not had any luck at keeping a clean car this season. And right now, with 5 minutes to go, that thing looks pretty much better than any other car on track. So doing a great job finding his way into a position to possibly, maybe, if he's super lucky, take a podium tonight.
Remember, he was the one that made contact with Koivisto, and it was on the right side of the car, so he must have gotten away pretty lucky with that side-to-side contact. So he's still looking at a podium, going by Oren Laskin. 5 more minutes to survive, if anything, is the way to put it for this race. He's got 17 seconds up to Campbell, so unlikely to catch him. Sintis-Guindo is chasing him, and he's within 2 seconds, so he can't dilly-dally.
Yeah, Sintis-Guindo there making his way past Oren Laskin, so Nick McConos can't hide too much, but that gap keeps fluctuating between 4 seconds and 2 seconds, and it really depends on the traffic. So Nick McConos now, he's going to have to work on Millward, on Yuko Leskala and then Alex Millward. Millward's had another off, Joe, and Yuko Leskala looks like he's had a little bit of issues. I stand corrected. Sorry, my timing and scoring was just being
okay. I was going back to check real quick to see if we missed something there, but thankfully no dramas for our class leader. As a glance at the order, seeing if there's any other real major stories amongst... Oh, and that is a problem. That definitely is an off for Yuko Leskala coming through yard sale, and that, I think, was his own doing. No contact there on screen between himself and Sintis-Guindo.
Yeah, absolutely. He's just decided that, you know, he's heard about the rally pedigree of the Audi, and he decided to test that a little bit on the exit of the left-hander there going through the chute. So, you know, jumps back on track and still about 16 seconds ahead of Hugh Haycox.
You know, Phil Lake has taken this thing by the scruff of the neck now that he's finished up that battle with Campbell. It's up to 3.2 seconds. When was the last time we saw Lake take a victory, actually?
It was when he was driving the Audi. He has not taken a victory in the GTP yet, Joe.
All right. I'm not going to mention it anymore after that. I'm not going to say anything more about it. I'm just going to let it sit. He's got 3 more minutes. He's going to take the lapped car of Jeffrey Furcon.
So probably 3 more laps here for him. He's overtaking Jeffrey Furcon. He's got Kyle Graham, Javier Mascara, and Jungbluth. Javier and Jungbluth are actually battling for position right now. Jungbluth continuing to fall back because of that damage. That's just ahead of Phil Lake, about 4 cars ahead. There's Jungbluth with that extremely bad left side damage. And Javier Mascara, I think he's just on pace catching up to Jungbluth now. This is going to be interesting. They're coming up to the carousel, Joe, and this is going to be a lot of traffic for these guys.
Including some of the front runners, so they can't play rough with these guys here. They gotta make sure and give them their space. That is Ian Haycox in the bright green and orange machine. And nicely done by both of them, nearly into the side of the number 11. And there comes our overall leader as well, who's now gonna put a lap on Mascara. So this is actually where things get a little bit sketchy for Phil Lake. He can't make too risky of a move.
And Sean Campbell's actually caught up behind these guys as well, caught up behind Jeffrey Furcon and just making his way past Ian Haycox. So Sean didn't gain that much through that exchange, just closes down to about 1.5 seconds now. But Sean Campbell still trying. He's still in the game for sure.
2 laps to go for Phil Lake. to wrap this one up and finally win one this season. Looks like he's going to be able to get ahead of Campbell by a little bit once again, because it's up to 1.6 as he also has to overtake that lap traffic. And unfortunately for the neutral viewer, Jungbluth and Mosquera have been split apart by all the lapping cars too, so that battle goes away from us.
Feels going to get held up here by Jungbluth, who's slow in a straight line. Almost makes contact with UK Cox as he goes wide to take the corner at Paddock Bend. Going to be able to get by, but this has closed Campbell down. He's about a second and a half back.
And the white flag is out for Phil Lake. He at least gets some clean air. He's got Chadrick Williams in front of him, but I'm not sure if we'll catch him before this lap is over. Sean Campbell gave it his all, but it looks like this might not be enough for him to get his first win of the season. Still, a second place is going to be a great feather in his cap. Into yard sale for the final time. Watching Phil Lake, just a couple corners to go. Some lap traffic, that's Chadrick Williams and Oren Laskin, and he can't take too long behind them. Laskin stays off to the side, and now he's able to get past Josh. Last corner for Phil Lake. A long time coming, and he finally claims the checkered flag in the number 4. Campbell takes second. Mukano's going to come across for a distant third, as I believe Leskala's got just about a whole lap to cycle back around.
Absolutely he does, but Hugh and Ian Haycox are about to cross the line as well. Second and third in the GTO, so that all but secures the win for Leskala. All he has to do is just make it around the track and he will take the victory. Nick Makanos in third in the GTPs.
To tell you how much attrition we had, Leskala, who didn't have any other of our GTOs to pass, started from 22nd and will finish in 14th. So certainly, gosh, 7 DNFs in our prototype field. It was a bit of a massacre out there for them, unfortunately. Kind of weave in celebration, tries to give a little bit of a flick through the corner. Not the best slide we've seen from that number 2.
Gotta make sure to actually finish.
Yeah, Leskala takes the win here for round 8 in the Kamel GT series. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Summit Point Raceway. Round 8 in the Kamel GT series saw a lot of action, and that's putting it mildly. Phil Lake, though, with much of that action following him around the track, survived it all and took his first win in possibly the GTPs. We'll have to double check his overall stats on that, but definitely his first in a long time, if so. Sean Campbell came home behind him and almost battled Phil Lake for the victory at the end, but didn't have the pace when they finally got rid of some of that traffic around them. Nick Mukanos finished third with 8 tours. Sintez Guindo from 10th to 4th. Laus Olsen finished P5 with John Keefe, a great charge forward to finish 6th. Last one on the lead lap was Krejcik in 7th. You've got Jungbluth finishing P8 with Mosquera in 9th. Then it's Ferrer rounding out the top 10. We get to the 2-lap down cars with Jeffrey Furcon, Kyle Graham, and Carlos Fonseca.
Yuko Leskala took home the win today in the GTOs, all but securing his championship this season. Hugh Haycox coming home in second, ahead of Ian Haycox in third. A family duo on the podium once again. Amazing to see. Albrecht Liebenau coming home in fourth place, ahead of Hideki Koivisto. That was a hard-fought battle for the beginning of the race. Then we have Oren Laskin, who comes home in sixth, and Reed Miller in seventh. Unbelievably, after he flew off into the nether and came back from the pits. Pablo Rangel comes home in the 8th position, and our last finisher in the GTOs is Christian Arribas in 9th.
That takes us to our winner for today, Phil in and around the lake. And Phil, congratulations. It's been a long time coming. We're trying to figure out, is this your first broadcast win in the prototypes?
For a long time, yeah. I've had a handful, maybe 10 or so years ago, but not anything for a long time.
Well, you had to work for this one. Obviously, a little bit of it fell into your lap because some of our leaders wrecked out in front of you. But once you were in that spot, Sean Campbell, left and right, just trying to find a way past, and somehow you held him off. How did you do that?
Yeah, it was super unlucky to see Alex go. I think he had some kind of connection problem. Looked like he just went straight on. So not sure what that was. And then Nick Snyder just fell victim to. I couldn't really see it. I was a couple of seconds back, but it was either a late move or an Audi not seeing what was going on there. But yeah, and then Sean caught me up. The traffic was being absolutely horrible to me for the first half of the race, and I was just like, I cannot catch a break. And he got right up behind me, and he was obviously running less wing than me. So I knew turn 1 was going to be his main chance. So the first time he got a good run, I didn't actually react to it quickly enough, so I couldn't defend the inside, and I managed to hold on around the outside. And then I was like, well, okay, every time he does this, I'm just going to stick to this. I know as the latest break, my latest braking point on the outside, because that's the normal line. I have no idea on the inside because I haven't done it. So I'll just stick with that and brake as late as I can every lap and just try and hold it around the outside. And luckily for me, it worked. And then I just got a little bit of luck at the end there and got a gap. And yeah, that was that.
Speaking of luck, there was one moment that we did catch early in the race where you were going around the outside of a car out of the S's and actually made contact, went sideways in the grass, and you still came away with the victory. Tell us about that experience. Was your heart in your throat?
Yeah, that was tricky all race. The S's are super difficult for this particular series with the multi-class, because there is a move. You can wait for the Audi to turn into the left-hander, and then you can sweep around the outside and get them before the right. I wasn't close enough to do that, but I think Nick was at the time, so he'd done that move, which pushed Hideki offline. And then Hideki was basically sat in the middle of the track through no fault of his own, and I was like, well, inside or outside, there's not a gap on either side. So I went for the outside, thinking he was going to try and make his way back to the apex, which he did, and it was pretty tight. I just about made it through there, so that was a pretty scary moment.
Yeah, for sure, Phil. This is Adam, and congrats on the win. and I hope you enjoy it this week, because next week I head to Circuit of the Americas, which is a very different track, much bigger and much twistier, a lot more technical. What are your thoughts heading into that round?
Yeah, that is a bit different to Summit Point. Yeah, I've gone well there before, so hopefully I'll go well there again. Yeah, I don't really mind what's coming up next, to be honest. I'm just super. It feels like a lot of pressure just got lifted off me to finally get a win again in this car. So I'm excited for the rest of the season.
Oh, I'm glad. Actually, I misspoke. It's actually Hockenheim, so it's going to be.
That's going to be fun. Yeah, because none of us have been there. So yeah, that'll be a good a good week, I think, because we won't really know. It'll be who clicked with it fastest, I guess.
Absolutely. Well, Phil, thanks for talking to us. And is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
I want to thank you guys, obviously, and all the Dirty Talk guys, Alex and Nick, for spending most of their time on the setup, and then I just do a little bit of tweaking for myself, and then so big thanks to those two. Yeah, that's it, really. Thanks, guys.
Well, fantastic drive, Phil. Congrats on the win, and we look forward to seeing you at Hockenheim Ring next week. And that was Phil Lake, our winner in the GTPs. Joe, back to you.
Looks like nobody else has the energy to talk to us after the exhausting race they experienced. So let's head off to a break ourselves. And of course, we want to thank the Kamel GT community for bringing us back for another season of fantastic coverage. And also thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Her Bandcamp is listed there for you to find more of her work. And thanks to the team today, Adam, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. There's also our social media, which we've listed on the bottom of the screen. If you'd like to support the channel, check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. Link is in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. After this week, we're heading off to Hockenheim, Saturday, May 15th at 1 p.m. Eastern. But we also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar, including later this evening, the Bootleg Racing League's Grand National Series heads to Southern National. That'll be at 9 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.